I'm Big Dick Tracy. Yeah, I know, the name's ironic, whatever, quiet, shut up. And I've read Allen Ginsberg's Howl. Naturally, I asked myself, how does this pertain to spirituality? I feel it evokes so many emotions. So I set to the streets to interview people like any good detective would do. 'Cause I'm Big Dick Tracy. Yeah! Okay, well then, let's check in with our correspondents down on the street.
Ancient Hamlet Connection Starry Dynamo. Okay, what do you think of Starry Dynamo? What's the picture in your head? What do you think of Starry Dynamo? Like if you're gonna draw it.
I hate poetry. Is it I'm not an English major? I don't know. What else do I say?
What is your major?
Politics.
Okay, me too.
Fascinating. Now, naturally politicians hate poetry and all other things that are creative, so I think we should check in with some other people. Let's go ahead and check in with Santa Claus, because he's always got some interesting stuff to say. Okay.
Everywhere I go, the plants and animals express gratitude for providing the nutrients.
You give them the nutrients?
I'm the nutrient provider for the species, see? So they're all happy to see me, and of course it makes me smile. All the time I smile.
That makes sense. I always had a suspicion. So that was interesting. A little bit of a tangent, but damn, I suppose spirituality seems to have many different forms. Let's continue exploring this spirituality and how it relates to Ginsberg's poem Howl. In particular, let's examine that part about Moloch. He seems to like to repeat that a lot. Seems pretty important. Seems pretty negative. Wonder how that could be spiritual. Let's check in with our correspondents on the street. Okay, alright, yeah, okay, let's go. Alright, yeah, whoa.
I read Moloch, it's like anything that fragments us, what, we're all connected in some fashion.
Yeah, well I think that's like what you were getting at before, like the whole, like in religion or mysticism it's all like demons are what break down the interconnectedness, whereas like that's the supposed godliness is where there is no separation between me and you, or the air between us, that it's actually one continuous flow of like levels of basically consciousness.
I do concur. I think Moloch is represented pretty well by light. I think it kind of represents something like Babylon to the Rastafarians. But I figured, hey, let's ask Allen Ginsberg himself. So I asked him a few questions after I sat down with him. Okay.
The ultimate accusation really is Moloch, whose name is the mind. It isn't, out there. The all-devouring God that the destroyer God, is not out there. It's our own imagination, as Blake pointed out. So Moloch, whose name is the mind, is hardly angry. That's a piece of wisdom teaching, actually, or something that I understood from Blake long ago.
Damn, fool. That shit was profound. Now, I suppose that sets an entirely new perceptual perspective through which I can interpret this poem. I just out of curiosity, is there any other insights that you'd like to share with us today?
To tell you the truth, and as I've said before, Howl was written sort of in despair at writing poetry. I figured I hadn't succeeded in writing anything interesting. And so I said, well, then I'll just writing for myself and I'll forget about any idea of publishing poetry. And so I started writing, I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, and I went on to catalog a series of almost grotesque, ironic, mocking, serious, sincere, trompe-l'oeil, psychologically or mythological gossip that I'd heard of.
All right. Well, in that case, let's check back in with some of our correspondents. Let's talk to another fella. In fact, let's talk to a few more, see what their perspectives are on this poem and how it relates to spirituality.
To my generation, destroyed by madness. starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection from the starry dynamo in the machinery of night. Through poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and high sat up smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats floating across the tops of cities contemplating jams.
Okay.
So, what kind of mysticism is it?
The thing that strikes me about it is this tone of alienation. And I think we all struggle in our lives to find meaning, whether it's religion, mysticism, spirituality. When we try to find a meaning that basically tries to counter a general social greater meaning, whenever our own internal values or this meaning that we get from outside isn't satisfying us, I think that you can't help but get into this zone where you feel alienated and desolate. And, you know, his term for that is madness. You know, that's often a term that we would have for, well, shit, that guy's just crazy. You know, he's doing something that we can't put in a box and we can't just put into regular norms. So to me, the interesting thing immediately as it relates to spirituality that I get is that sense of how that struggle for that kind of meaning is almost a kind of battlefront, and you have to be ready for that. So you can't expect, like, you could get a fucking bullshit, you know, tattoo of a Hindu symbol or Chinese characters, which a lot of people do, or yin and yang, but you can't have it all, is what I'm saying. It's gotta be sacrifice, right? For anything you want in life, whatever you want to do. You want to be an artist, you want to be a musician, for whatever you truly care about and are passionate about, there's going to be necessary sacrifices for that. And so, I mean, to me, that's a spiritual thing. It's not just, well, I subscribe to this religion. There's various ways of drawing out that meaning from your life. You know, it could be like art, music, writing. You know, for Ginsberg, it's writing possibly, who knows. We end up taking jobs, kind of being quiet to that inner voice in us that tells us that, well, you got to kind of be true to your values. So for me, it's more like, how am I going to make a living while at the same time living out things that I care about, like really deeply and passionately about, not stuff that I can just settle for, but just stuff that I can really like live out. And how can I have the courage to do that when it might not be the safest path?
I concur. Man, not everybody in Boulder is as stuck up and full of themselves and righteous as I thought. So now let's perhaps explore what spirituality truly is and how in this poem it's manifest. Let's check in with another.
My spirituality and my sanity. I feel like I could be destroyed myself by madness, hysteria, drag myself through the streets looking for a fix. I found art and I don't need that fix anymore. I used to be addicted to heroin for 2 years. Found painting. I mean, I'm not too much of a religious kind of guy, but I feel like this is my God, and pretty much my thoughts are my actions, and my meditation is this, you know what I mean? I don't sit by myself in a quiet room, I paint, and I paint out in the public to make it real for myself, and that's my spirituality. Otherwise, I would fall asleep with the rest of the generation and be destroyed by madness. Because we're closed. Because all these people walking by are inside themselves and not connected. We lack community in the United States here. There's no community whatsoever. I can't walk up to a person and say, you know, how are you, and expect a legitimate response. Most people walk around, I'm fine. They're not fine. Half of us aren't fine. You know what I mean? And for me, my sanity is painting and bringing it out to show people to make it real. Now whether they like it, whether they don't like it, doesn't matter.
Well, I feel this has been a thoroughly educational experience. I have discovered that in Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl, he expresses spirituality through everything. Even Moloch, the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs, the lows, the crazy, the madness, the sanity. Everything. Man, that shit is deep. That's what she said. Whoo! Anyway, until next time, this is Big Dick Tracy signing off. Keep it real and keep it trill. Yeah!